As much as I like the media, I can't wait to get on the field, and get around my team and get around the players and talk about the goals for the season and how we're going to get there. That's what I love to do the most. But I'm excited. My family's excited. And, listen, as a coach, we need to be motivated too. And I was extremely motivated and felt compelled to come back to Ohio and ignite, this community and energize it and, save it but elevate it. Let's not just save it. Let's just continue to elevate this club and put a trophy in the trophy case.
Caleb, it's not often in professional sports the coach takes over a team that was reasonably successful. Mm-hmm. What is the challenge of that for you as a guy who wants to put a stamp on the program but inherits a team that had reasonable success in the field?
Yeah, good question. I think, any coach, he would say that you'd rather go into a stable situation than an unstable situation. And so I look at it as a real positive. Obviously, there's a good culture. Greg's done a really, tremendous job during his tenure, 5 years, in building that culture and building the style of play and a philosophy and stability. So it's great to have a strong foundation to build on. And that allows me to hit the ground running and build some more layers on the team and take it even further.
How much is this team already built in the way that you can see success? I mean, not just because they've had success, but in your vision of soccer. Yeah,
very, very similar. Obviously there'll be some differences, subtle differences in how we create goals. But I very much want to play in a dominant way. I always have. That's my preferred way, is to play what I call dominant football, which means you're in the front half. You have control with the ball. You counter press and lock teams in and get on top of teams. And that's what we'll do at home. And the team's built to do that. But there'll be a subtle twist in how we play. A little bit more verticality in the build-up, a little bit more pace power on the wings, a little bit more pressing at times, pushing our lines higher. System-wise, I play 4-2-3-1, so it's built for that. But, maybe can we add in a bit more pace on the flanks?
Do you see the current roster being able to accomplish that, or do you see some new pieces being added to kind of fit what you need?
Yeah, well, when you have a stable team and a team that's been good, the worst thing I can do is come in and throw the baby out with the bathwater, and just start changing stuff that's not broke and reinventing the wheel. So we'll build off of that foundation, and then we'll slowly start to, put our wrinkles in. And but they're in a rhythm right now, so I can work off that versus try to, work against it. I think it's a better way to come into this club.
How much freedom do you expect to have in terms of building the roster, making those personnel decisions?
Yeah, it'll be a collaboration, obviously, with Tim, and that's the way it always is. That's the way it was, in Portland. Obviously, I have a clear way of looking at the game and my team and how I put it together, but it's a constant discussion, and it depends on the availability of players. It depends on the budget, the cap, obviously. That's not my forte. My forte is to coach the team, and that's what I'm good at. But it's great to have Tim, who's, I think, the best guy in terms of understanding the league and the rules and the little nuances in the cap and maximizing what we do from a roster standpoint.
I don't know how much you guys have gotten to know each other in previous years, but it's been a handful of days now. How's that relationship forming between the two of you?
Really good, easy. I've known Tim, a long time. Okay. Knew when he was at the league office. Why wouldn't anybody want a guy that helped kind of write the rules? Sure. And he knows the rules inside and out, and then obviously he's shown that he can take, that knowledge and his organization and execute it, in a club setting and win an MLS Cup. He's young like me, with a lot of energy, but similar values. He's a good person. He's a family guy. We already have a really good trust with each other. It's going to be a great working relationship.
What was the year away? What was the biggest thing you took from the year away? I know you took some time away from soccer before you kind of got back into watching games and whatnot, but what did you take away? What did you learn? What they can go forward into this season?
Yeah, a lot. I think having a year to just kind of, reflect and look back. Sometimes in our sport, we're just on to the next and on to the next. And, taking that time to reflect and look back and just, look at what went right, what went wrong, how you're going to do it moving forward. I thought that was a real positive. I also spent a lot of time overseas, just kind of, I guess reevaluating how I do things and the blueprint that I have. And then obviously a lot of it was re-energizing myself. But I think for me, picking the right club was the most important thing, because I'm motivated by, the vision of a club and that story. And it's got to be bigger than just the wins and the losses. It's got to be bigger than that for me, because I've won games. And wins are empty if you don't have something to win for.
You know Will, obviously, exceptionally well.
Yeah.
How much did you have a chance to speak with him kind of throughout the process of talking to come here, and how much was his influence to make that decision?
Yeah, of course, I've spoken with Will, know him very well, have a good relationship. Also spoke with Greg a couple times. It's important to, I think, honor your predecessor and pay respect. And if I can glean a little intel into his thought process, those were good conversations. And with Will, great player. Obviously, a lot of people forget. I took him and recruited him out of the Columbus Crew. He was a number 10, actually. I converted him to a 6, and he played in a very similar way, where he was a deep line playmaker, rotated in between the center backs, and that's the way I played him. So I don't see that changing, and he'll be a big part of what we're doing moving forward. As long as we can stop him from going to Europe if he has opportunities. Which by the way, if he does and it makes sense for us in the club, we'll look at it. But we don't want to lose him.
Between what you do in the next couple of months and what you've already got in this roster, do you feel like it's a team that can compete this year?
I always think every team I coach, can compete. And the way the league's set up, right, you make the playoffs, then you have a chance, right? And so this is a club that's been in the playoffs 4 or 5 years. It's a club that hasn't won a trophy in the playoffs, and so can I get them to that next step? That would be my goal. But to get there, you have to obviously maintain the stability, But ultimately now it's 4 games, so the format's changing, the structure's changing. So one thing I'll tell you is every single competition we're in, we're going to try to win a trophy. We're Open Cup. We're gonna go for it. There's only 3 ways you're winning. It's Supporter Shield, Open Cup, and MLS Cup. And we're going to obviously go for all 3.
Where do you stand in kind of putting your staff together? Obviously, things are starting pretty quickly here.
Yeah, and I've been working a little bit behind the scenes, but those are things I couldn't really work on because of takeover, transition budgets, all those things.
Right.
So I have a list, and I've been talking behind the scenes to guys, but we're ready to pull the trigger. I'm going to hire 2 assistant coaches, and I have guys in mind, and there'll be guys that complement me. I like to work with new guys.
Okay.
I like to develop coaches, and I like to also learn from new coaches and new people. I have my way of working, but part of me being energized is working with different people, top people, talented people.
You said hiring 2 coaches. Is that offensively, defensively, or does that matter in terms of the setup?
Yeah, I mean, with coaches in soccer, we're coaches, but I prefer to have one guy with a little bit more understanding the attack, one guy with a little bit more understanding with maybe the back line or back 6, that unit. That's kind of how I put it together, and I do already have 1 staff member in place. It's not been announced, but he was a guy that I brought with me from Portland.
Okay.
Great guy, great coach, good person, does all my video. He's like my coach whisperer. He's the guy I brought with me every single place I go. So he's already on board, and he's Uruguayan. He speaks Spanish. He'll be drinking mate with Pipa in the locker room. So he's a good guy.
And Pat Onstad obviously has been the interim general manager. Do you see him staying around? I don't know what your conversation.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be staying around. Yeah. Pat's great, and he's been the guy behind the scenes, kind of holding it together a little bit, right? And I love people that want to stay in a club even when leadership changes. I mean, it shows his loyalty, and he wants to be in Columbus, loves it here, and loves the club. And his role, we'll see. It depends a little bit on what he wants to do or what Tim has him doing. But he did a great job with the goalkeepers, obviously, and Zach Steffen.
Certainly a lot of long-term goals for you as you head into Super Draft on Friday and then preseason. What are some short-term objectives that you're focused on?
Yeah, good question. The nice thing is that I've been through the cycle 5 times at the pro level, so it feels very much, even though I've been out of here, like riding a bike. And I know how to put together a preseason. I know how to build in the season. I understand how to lay out the periodization of training from a sports science standpoint, and then even just my tactical entry into a team. you know, I have a way of kind of building the layers on my team from an attacking and defensive standpoint. You know, so that'll be easy. I think the biggest thing, you know, is just getting the guys, you know, getting to know them, getting them on board. You know, buy-in's important, you know, so, you know, that'll be important to start to develop a relationship with the players, and I can't wait.